I watched in horror as Derek Sullivan's finger hovered over the delete button, his smug face twisted with satisfaction. "Your module is useless," he screamed across the open office floor, making sure every engineer on the team could witness my humiliation. 3 years of revolutionary encryption work vanished with one malicious keystroke. Security guards appeared at my desk within minutes, ready to escort me from TechFlow Dynamics like a common criminal. My hands trembled as I packed my belongings, the weight of betrayal crushing down on me. But then my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Through tears of rage, I managed to answer. "Yes," I whispered into the receiver. "I accept AstroNova's offer." My name is Danita Richardson, and until that devastating moment, I believed hard work and innovation would always triumph over office politics. For 32 years, I had navigated the competitive world of software engineering with determination and integrity. My journey began at Georgia Tech, where I earned my computer science degree with highest honors, focusing on cryptography and quantum computing applications. After graduation, I spent 5 successful years at 2 major technology companies developing security protocols that protected millions of users worldwide. TechFlow Dynamics recruited me 3 years ago with promises of creative freedom and cutting-edge projects. Located in Austin's thriving tech corridor, the company specialized in cybersecurity solutions for enterprise clients. The founder, Robert Sullivan, had built the business from a small startup into a major industry player over 15 years. When I arrived, TechFlow employed over 200 people and served Fortune 500 companies across multiple sectors. During my first week, I met Derek Sullivan, Robert's 26-year-old son, who served as vice president of engineering despite his obvious lack of technical expertise. Derek had inherited his position through pure nepotism, wielding authority he never earned through competence or leadership. While other engineers whispered complaints in private, nobody dared challenge his decisions openly. The Sullivan family name provided Derek with immunity from criticism, no matter how incompetent his contributions became. I threw myself into developing CipherShield, a revolutionary encryption module that would become the backbone of TechFlow's security platform. The technology utilized quantum-resistant algorithms I designed from scratch, making it virtually unbreachable even by advanced computing systems. Traditional encryption methods relied on mathematical problems that quantum computers could eventually solve. But my approach used entirely different principles that maintain security regardless of computational power. The development process consumed 18 months of intensive research, coding, and testing. I collaborated with leading cryptography experts from Stanford and MIT, ensuring the algorithms met the highest academic standards. My work resulted in 3 pending patent applications and recognition from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Industry publications featured articles about CipherShield's innovative approach to post-quantum cryptography, establishing TechFlow as a leader in next-generation security solutions. CipherShield's implementation transformed TechFlow's business prospects dramatically. Client revenue increased by 40% within the first year as companies sought protection against emerging quantum computing threats. Major corporations paid premium prices for access to my encryption technology, viewing it as essential insurance for their digital assets. The module's success attracted attention from government agencies interested in securing classified communication systems. Throughout this period, Derek consistently attempted to take credit for engineering team accomplishments while contributing nothing substantive to actual development work. He attended high-level meetings with clients and investors, presenting himself as the mastermind behind TechFlow's technical innovations. Derek's presentations contained impressive slides and buzzwords, but lacked any understanding of the underlying technology he claimed to have created. The engineering team tolerated Derek's behavior because confronting him meant risking their careers. Sarah Martinez, a talented senior developer, once questioned Derek's technical decisions during a team meeting. Within a week, Derek had transferred her to a less desirable project and excluded her from important discussions. The message was clear: challenging Derek's authority would result in professional punishment regardless of the merit of the criticism. I mentored several junior engineers, helping them develop skills that would advance their careers. Teaching others about cryptography and security principles gave me immense satisfaction, knowing that my knowledge would continue benefiting the industry through their future contributions. These relationships provided some compensation for the frustration of working under Derek's dysfunctional leadership. The quarterly engineering review meeting should have been a celebration of our team's remarkable achievements. Instead, it became the stage for my professional destruction. Derek stood before the assembled group, presenting CipherShield as his personal creation. He described the quantum-resistant algorithms as his innovative breakthrough, claiming sole responsibility for the module's success. Slide after slide featured my work attributed to his leadership and vision. When Derek invited questions from the audience, I raised my hand politely. "I think there might be some confusion about the attribution," I said calmly. CipherShield was developed primarily by my research team, with my algorithms forming the core technology. The room fell silent as Derek's face flushed with anger at being corrected in front of his father and other executives. "How dare you interrupt my presentation with your lies?" Derek shouted, his composure completely shattered. "Your so-called contributions are meaningless compared to my strategic vision and leadership. This technology exists because of my guidance, not your coding." His voice echoed off the conference room walls as other attendees shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Before I could respond, Derek stormed to the nearest computer terminal and began furiously typing commands. "Since you want to make false claims about ownership, let me show everyone how important your work really is." His fingers flew across the keyboard, accessing the main code repository that contained TechFlow's entire software platform. Within moments, he located the CipherShield module and began deleting every file I had created. "Derek, wait!" I called out desperately, realizing what he was doing. "You're deleting 3 years of development work. The entire security platform depends on those algorithms." But Derek ignored my pleas, methodically erasing every line of code I had written. Directories vanished one by one as my life's work disappeared from TechFlow's systems forever. "Your module is useless!" Derek screamed as he completed the destruction. "We don't need incompetent employees who steal credit for other people's achievements. You're fired effective immediately." Security personnel appeared in the conference room within minutes, summoned by Derek's assistant, who had anticipated this outcome. The walk from the conference room to the parking garage felt like a death march. My former colleagues avoided eye contact, uncertain whether showing sympathy would make them Derek's next target. Sarah Martinez whispered, "I'm sorry," as I passed her desk. But even that small gesture of support required courage in Derek's toxic environment. 3 years of relationships and professional accomplishments had been erased as completely as my code. As I reached my car, my hands still shaking from the shock of what had just occurred, my phone began ringing with an unknown number. The timing seemed impossible, as if the universe was presenting me with a lifeline in my darkest moment. I answered the call with a trembling voice, unsure what could possibly matter anymore after losing everything I had built at TechFlow. "Hello, Ms. Richardson. This is Dr. James Watson from AstroNova Technologies. I realize this might seem like unusual timing, but we've been following your work in quantum-resistant cryptography for quite some time. Would you be interested in discussing a senior position with our company?" Dr. Watson's voice carried the warm confidence of someone accustomed to delivering life-changing opportunities. As I sat in my car outside TechFlow's headquarters, still processing the devastation Derek had just inflicted, this stranger was offering me hope when I needed it most desperately. The coincidence seemed too perfect to be real, yet his knowledge of my research proved this was no random recruitment call. AstroNova Technologies operated from a sleek facility in Austin's emerging tech district, just 15 minutes from my apartment. Dr. Watson explained that he served as chief technology strategist for the rapidly growing startup, which had secured substantial venture capital funding and government contracts. The company specialized in next-generation satellite communication systems, developing technology that would revolutionize how military and civilian organizations transmitted sensitive data across global networks. "We've been monitoring your publications in the Journal of Cryptographic Engineering," Dr. Watson continued during our phone conversation. "Your paper on lattice-based encryption protocols caught our CEO's attention immediately. Patricia Hayes specifically requested that we prioritize recruiting you for our quantum security division." The validation felt surreal after Derek's brutal dismissal, like discovering that respected professionals valued work he had declared worthless. The meeting took place the following morning in AstroNova's modern conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Austin's downtown skyline. Patricia Hayes impressed me immediately with her combination of technical knowledge and business acumen. She had founded AstroNova after spending 12 years developing satellite technology for the Department of Defense, earning 3 advanced degrees from MIT along the way. Unlike Derek Sullivan, Patricia had built her authority through genuine expertise and proven leadership. Traditional encryption methods create vulnerabilities that our clients simply cannot accept, Patricia explained as she outlined AstroNova's mission. Satellite communications carry classified military intelligence, financial transactions worth billions of dollars, and personal data for millions of users. When quantum computers achieve sufficient power to break current security protocols, these systems will become completely defenseless unless we develop quantum-resistant alternatives. AstroNova had identified a critical gap in the satellite communication market that my expertise could fill perfectly. Government agencies were increasingly demanding encryption technology that could withstand attacks from theoretical quantum computers, but existing solutions remained experimental and unreliable. My Cipher Shield algorithms represented exactly the breakthrough needed to secure next-generation satellite networks against future threats. The technical challenge excited me more than any project I had ever encountered. Satellite communications required encryption protocols that could function reliably across vast distances while consuming minimal power and computational resources. Traditional quantum-resistant algorithms often proved too complex for satellite hardware, creating an engineering puzzle that demanded innovative solutions. AstroNova needed someone who could adapt my theoretical work into practical systems that met stringent performance requirements. Dr. Watson revealed that AstroNova had been quietly developing partnerships with major aerospace contractors and government agencies for over 18 months. They had secured preliminary agreements worth potentially hundreds of millions of dollars, pending successful development of quantum-resistant encryption technology. The Defense Department alone had committed to purchasing satellite communication systems if AstroNova could demonstrate adequate security capabilities within the next 12 months. "We're offering you the position of Chief Technology Officer," Patricia announced, sliding a formal offer letter across the conference table. "Your starting salary would be $160,000 annually, plus equity shares that could become quite valuable if our government contracts materialize as expected. More importantly, you would have complete creative control over encryption development with a dedicated research budget and team of engineers to support your work." The financial offer represented nearly double my TechFlow salary, but the creative freedom meant even more than the money. Patricia promised that AstroNova's culture prioritized innovation and collaboration over office politics and personal ego. Engineers were evaluated based on their contributions to shared goals, rather than their ability to navigate dysfunctional power structures. The contrast with Derek's toxic leadership could not have been more dramatic. However, accepting the position meant confronting a significant technical challenge that could define my entire career. My Cipher Shield algorithms remained locked within TechFlow's proprietary systems, inaccessible due to non-disclosure agreements and intellectual property restrictions. I would need to recreate my innovations completely from memory while developing enhanced versions suitable for satellite applications. Failure would mean disappointing Patricia's trust and potentially derailing AstroNova's ambitious plans. The time pressure added another layer of complexity to an already daunting task. AstroNova's government contracts included specific deadlines for demonstrating functional encryption technology, with penalties for delays that could threaten the company's survival. I would have exactly 60 days to rebuild 3 years of research while adapting it for entirely new applications. The stakes could not have been higher for either of us. During our second meeting, Patricia introduced me to AstroNova's existing engineering team, a group of brilliant professionals who welcomed my expertise with genuine enthusiasm. Unlike TechFlow's atmosphere of competition and fear, AstroNova fostered collaboration and mutual respect among colleagues. Dr. Angela Torres, the lead satellite systems engineer, explained how my encryption technology would integrate with their communication protocols. Her questions demonstrated deep technical understanding and sincere interest in creating the best possible solutions. The workspace Patricia showed me featured state-of-the-art equipment that TechFlow could never have afforded. Quantum computing simulators, advanced cryptographic testing systems, and high-performance development workstations filled the laboratory where I would spend the next 2 months recreating my life's work. The investment in proper tools reflected AstroNova's commitment to supporting serious research rather than cutting corners to maximize short-term profits. As I prepared to sign AstroNova's offer letter, Patricia shared intelligence that transformed my understanding of why this opportunity had emerged so suddenly. Through contacts in Austin's technology community, she had learned about Derek's reckless destruction of my code at TechFlow. Several former TechFlow employees had quietly reached out to competitors, warning them that the company's encryption capabilities were now compromised. Patricia realized that recruiting me would give AstroNova access to cutting-edge technology that TechFlow had foolishly discarded. Innovation flourishes when people feel valued and supported, Patricia reflected as we concluded our negotiations. Derek Sullivan has created an opportunity for us by driving away exactly the talent his company needed most. Our gain will be TechFlow's loss, and justice will be served through our mutual success. The irony was perfect. Derek's petty attempt to humiliate me had delivered the industry's leading encryption expert directly to TechFlow's emerging competitor. While he celebrated his perceived victory, I was preparing to rebuild my technology in an environment that would help it reach its full potential. The revenge would be sweet, but more importantly, the opportunity would allow me to create something truly revolutionary. 3 weeks into my employment at AstroNova, Sarah Martinez contacted me with disturbing news that revealed just how catastrophic Derek's actions had become for TechFlow. The company's biggest client, Orion Enterprises, had been expecting delivery of quantum-resistant encryption capabilities as part of a massive $420 million acquisition deal. Without my CipherShield module, TechFlow could no longer fulfill the contracted security requirements. Derek was desperately trying to recreate my deleted technology, but his complete lack of cryptographic knowledge made success impossible. The first cracks in TechFlow's facade appeared exactly 3 weeks after Derek's triumphant destruction of my code. Sarah Martinez contacted me through encrypted messaging, her words carrying the weight of someone watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. "Derek is panicking," she wrote. "He's been working 18-hour days trying to rebuild your encryption module, but he doesn't understand the first thing about quantum-resistant algorithms. The whole engineering team knows we're in serious trouble." Orion Enterprises had chosen TechFlow specifically because of our quantum-resistant encryption capabilities, which would secure their planned acquisition of a financial services company, handling billions of dollars in sensitive transactions daily. The $420 million deal represented the largest contract in TechFlow's history, capable of transforming the company into a major industry player. Robert Sullivan had built his entire business expansion strategy around successfully delivering this project. The acquisition timeline created immense pressure that Derek was completely unprepared to handle. Orion's technical team, led by Chief Security Officer Amanda Foster, had scheduled comprehensive security testing for the end of the month. They expected to evaluate working encryption protocols that could demonstrate resistance to quantum computing attacks. Without functional algorithms, TechFlow would face embarrassing failure that could destroy their reputation permanently. Derek's first desperate attempt involved hiring external consultants from a prestigious cybersecurity firm in San Francisco. He paid $200,000 for a crash course in quantum-resistant cryptography, hoping to absorb knowledge that had taken me years to develop. The consultants produced a 30-page report filled with theoretical concepts and mathematical formulas. But Derek lacked the foundational understanding needed to translate academic research into practical code. When the consultants departed, Derek assembled TechFlow's engineering team for emergency brainstorming sessions that revealed his fundamental ignorance. He demanded that they reverse engineer quantum-resistant encryption from competitor products, not understanding that such technology remained proprietary and largely unpublished. The team spent countless hours researching publicly available algorithms, but none possessed the specific properties needed for Orion's security requirements. Sarah described Derek's increasingly erratic behavior as the deadline approached. He berated engineers for failing to solve problems he himself could not even articulate clearly. During one particularly heated meeting, Derek accused the team of deliberately sabotaging his efforts to rebuild my encryption module. "You're all conspiring against me because you're jealous of my success," he shouted, completely oblivious to how his own actions had created the crisis. Meanwhile, Orion Enterprises was conducting their own due diligence that raised uncomfortable questions about TechFlow's actual capabilities. Amanda Foster's security team had requested detailed technical documentation about the quantum-resistant encryption algorithms, expecting to review implementation details before approving the technology for their sensitive applications. Derek provided evasive responses and promised that complete documentation would be available after final optimization of the code. The pressure from Orion intensified when they hired independent security experts to validate TechFlow's encryption technology. Dr. Michael Chen, a quantum computing researcher from Stanford University, agreed to evaluate the algorithms and provide recommendations about their effectiveness. His credentials intimidated Derek, who realized that any serious technical examination would expose TechFlow's complete lack of functional quantum-resistant encryption. Robert Sullivan remained largely unaware of the crisis developing within his company's engineering division. Derek had convinced his father that temporary delays were normal for complex technology projects, citing optimization challenges and security enhancement procedures as explanations for missed deadlines. Robert trusted his son's technical judgment, having no background in software development, that would enable him to recognize the warning signs of impending disaster. The engineering team's morale collapsed as they struggled to solve problems that exceeded their collective expertise. Without my specialized knowledge of quantum-resistant cryptography, they could only attempt to modify existing algorithms that lacked the necessary security properties. Each failed experiment consumed valuable time while bringing them no closer to a viable solution. Several team members privately began updating their resumes, recognizing that TechFlow might not survive the Orion contract failure. Industry rumors about TechFlow's difficulties began circulating through Austin's technology community, where word traveled quickly among professionals who changed companies frequently. Competing cybersecurity firms sensed opportunity and started approaching Orion Enterprises, directly offering alternative solutions for their encryption needs. The predatory behavior was standard practice in the competitive world of enterprise software, where one company's weakness became another's advantage. Derek's second major mistake involved attempting to license encryption technology from academic institutions, not understanding that universities rarely possessed production-ready software suitable for commercial applications. He contacted researchers at dozen universities, offering substantial payments for access to their quantum-resistant algorithms. Most professors politely declined, explaining that their work remained experimental and required years of additional development before deployment. The few academics willing to negotiate demanded licensing fees that would have consumed TechFlow's entire profit margin on the Orion contract. Worse, their algorithms required specialized hardware and computational resources that Orion systems could not support. Derek found himself caught between impossible technical requirements and financial constraints that made any solution economically unfeasible. As the month progressed, Amanda Foster's team grew increasingly suspicious about TechFlow's evasive responses to their technical inquiries. Orion had built their acquisition strategy around deploying quantum-resistant encryption within 6 months of completing the deal, but TechFlow seemed unable to provide concrete timelines or detailed implementation plans. Amanda began quietly exploring backup options while maintaining their official partnership. The breaking point arrived when Derek attempted to present prototype encryption software to Orion's technical review board. The hastily assembled code contained fundamental flaws that any competent security expert could identify within minutes. Dr. Chen's evaluation revealed vulnerabilities that rendered the encryption virtually useless against even conventional attacks, let alone quantum computing threats. His scathing report recommended that Orion immediately seek alternative security solutions. Sarah's final message to me carried an ominous warning that would change everything. "Derek found out you're working for AstroNova. He's convinced his father that you stole TechFlow's encryption technology when you left. They're planning to sue AstroNova for intellectual property theft. Derek thinks he can force you to rebuild the algorithms he deleted." The irony was breathtaking. Derek's own destructive actions had eliminated the very evidence he would need to prove his false accusations in court. The lawsuit arrived on a Friday afternoon, delivered by a stern-faced process server who found me working late in AstroNova's laboratory. TechFlow Dynamics versus AstroNova Technologies represented everything I despised about corporate America: powerful interests using legal intimidation to crush innovation and silence criticism. Derek Sullivan had convinced his father to weaponize the justice system against the victim of his own incompetence, hoping to destroy my new career before it could threaten TechFlow's crumbling empire. Richard Blackwood, TechFlow's lead attorney, specialized in aggressive litigation tactics designed to exhaust opponents financially rather than win on legal merits. His firm commanded hourly rates that smaller companies could not sustain for extended periods, creating pressure to settle cases, regardless of their validity. The 60-page complaint contained inflammatory language describing my departure from TechFlow as corporate espionage and theft of proprietary trade secrets. According to Derek's testimony, I had systematically copied TechFlow's encryption algorithms before my termination, violating non-disclosure agreements and employment contracts. The lawsuit demanded $50 million in damages, plus an injunction preventing me from working on quantum-resistant cryptography for any competitor. Derek claimed that AstroNova's recruitment of me constituted conspiracy to steal TechFlow's intellectual property, making both companies liable for the alleged theft. The legal papers painted me as a vindictive former employee seeking revenge against my previous employer through corporate sabotage. Derek's sworn statement described my corrections during the engineering presentation as insubordinate behavior and attempts to undermine company leadership. He portrayed my termination as justified response to unprofessional conduct rather than acknowledging his own destructive actions. Patricia Hayes assembled an exceptional legal team to defend both AstroNova and my professional reputation. Lead attorney Jennifer Walsh brought 15 years of experience defending technology companies against frivolous intellectual property claims. Her track record included several high-profile victories against patent trolls and competitors who used litigation to stifle innovation. Jennifer's aggressive counterattack strategy would expose Derek's lies while protecting my ability to continue working in my chosen field. The discovery phase began with demands for evidence that TechFlow could not provide, because Derek had deleted the very algorithms he claimed I had stolen. Jennifer immediately filed motions requiring TechFlow to produce the original source code for their quantum-resistant encryption technology. When Derek's lawyers requested additional time to locate the files, Jennifer pointed out that functioning algorithms should be readily available if TechFlow was actively using them for client projects. Court depositions revealed Derek's technical incompetence in devastating detail. Under oath, he could not explain how quantum-resistant algorithms functioned or identify specific features that distinguished my work from publicly available research. Jennifer's questioning exposed contradictions between Derek's claims of authorship and his obvious lack of understanding about cryptographic principles. The transcript read like a masterclass in revealing fraudulent testimony through patient, methodical interrogation. "Can you describe the mathematical foundation for lattice-based encryption?" Jennifer asked during Derek's deposition. Derek fumbled through a confused explanation that demonstrated he had memorized buzzwords without comprehending their meaning. When pressed for technical details, he resorted to claiming that proprietary information could not be discussed publicly, despite being under court order to provide honest testimony. Expert witnesses hired by Jennifer's team analyzed TechFlow's current encryption systems and found critical security vulnerabilities that proved the company lacked functional quantum-resistant technology. Dr. Sarah Kim from Carnegie Mellon University demonstrated that TechFlow's existing algorithms could be broken using conventional computers, let alone quantum systems. Her report concluded that TechFlow had never possessed the advanced encryption capabilities described in Derek's lawsuit. The personal toll of litigation affected every aspect of my life during those stressful months. Sleep became elusive as I worried about legal bills that could bankrupt me, even if we ultimately prevailed in court. Concentration on my AstroNova work suffered as depositions and document review consumed entire days. The uncertainty about my professional future created anxiety that no amount of Patricia's reassurance could completely eliminate. Media coverage of the lawsuit initially favored TechFlow's narrative about corporate espionage, with technology publications reporting Derek's accusations without sufficient investigation of the underlying facts. Industry analysts speculated about the potential impact on AstroNova's government contracts if the intellectual property claims proved valid. The negative publicity threatened to damage both companies' reputations regardless of the lawsuit's eventual outcome. As evidence mounted in our favor, public opinion began shifting toward a more accurate understanding of what had actually occurred at TechFlow. Former employees provided anonymous testimony about Derek's incompetence and the toxic work environment he had created. Industry insiders confirmed that I had developed the encryption technology independently, with my research predating any work at TechFlow by several years. The turning point came when Jennifer obtained TechFlow's internal email records, which revealed Derek's admission to destroying my code during a moment of rage. Messages between Derek and his assistant discussed eliminating the encryption module and showing that woman who's really in charge. The electronic evidence contradicted every claim in TechFlow's lawsuit, while documenting Derek's deliberate sabotage of his own company's capabilities. Robert Sullivan's deposition proved equally damaging to TechFlow's credibility. Under questioning, he admitted having no technical knowledge about encryption algorithms and relying entirely on Derek's representations about the company's capabilities. When shown evidence of Derek's destruction of my work, Robert appeared genuinely shocked to learn what his son had done. The revelation that TechFlow's leadership was unaware of critical technical decisions undermined their claims of systematic intellectual property protection. Jennifer's countersuit accused TechFlow of filing frivolous litigation and defaming my professional reputation through false accusations. We demanded compensation for legal fees, lost opportunities, and emotional distress caused by Derek's vindictive behavior. The filing detailed Derek's pattern of incompetence and abuse of authority, supported by testimony from multiple former employees who had witnessed his destructive leadership firsthand. The breakthrough moment arrived through an unexpected source that would transform both the lawsuit and my career trajectory. Amanda Foster contacted me directly through encrypted communication channels, revealing that Orion Enterprises had been secretly evaluating AstroNova's encryption technology as a potential alternative to TechFlow's failed promises. Her message carried an offer that could simultaneously vindicate my reputation and secure AstroNova's future. Orion wanted to partner with us while providing expert testimony supporting my legal defense. Amanda Foster's encrypted message arrived at the perfect moment when legal pressure threatened to overwhelm both my personal resources and AstroNova's business operations. Her proposal offered more than just expert testimony. It represented validation from the industry's most respected security professionals that my work possessed genuine value despite Derek's attempts to destroy my reputation. The alliance would demonstrate that competence ultimately triumphs over corporate politics when evaluated by impartial experts. We arranged to meet at a discreet coffee shop in downtown Austin, far from TechFlow's offices and the prying eyes of industry gossip networks. Amanda's reputation preceded her through numerous publications in cybersecurity journals and speaking engagements at major technology conferences. Her credentials included advanced degrees from MIT and Stanford, plus 15 years of experience protecting sensitive data for Fortune 500 companies. Unlike Derek Sullivan, Amanda had earned her authority through demonstrated expertise rather than family connections. Orion's board has lost confidence in TechFlow's ability to deliver functional quantum-resistant encryption, Amanda explained quietly, as we sat in a corner booth surrounded by the ambient noise of casual conversations. The technical demonstrations they've provided contain fundamental flaws that any competent security team can identify immediately. We need reliable partners who understand the gravity of protecting our clients' sensitive information. Her revelation about TechFlow's failed demonstrations vindicated every concern I had raised about Derek's technical incompetence. Orion's security team had conducted rigorous testing of the hastily assembled algorithms Derek presented as replacements for my deleted CipherShield module. The analysis revealed vulnerabilities that rendered the encryption worse than useless, creating false confidence while providing no actual protection against attacks. Amanda described Orion's growing frustration with TechFlow's evasive responses to technical inquiries. Instead of providing detailed documentation and implementation plans, Derek offered vague promises about optimization procedures and security enhancements that never materialized. His transparent attempts to delay serious evaluation convinced Orion's technical team that TechFlow lacked the capabilities they had originally promised to deliver. "We've been discreetly researching alternative encryption solutions for 6 weeks." Amanda continued, producing a tablet that displayed AstroNova's company profile. "Your published research on lattice-based cryptography caught our attention immediately. The theoretical framework appears ideal for our satellite communication requirements, but we need to evaluate practical implementation before making any commitments." The opportunity represented everything Patricia Hayes had envisioned when she recruited me from TechFlow's wreckage. Orion Enterprises managed secure communications for government agencies, financial institutions, and multinational corporations that demanded absolute protection for their sensitive data. Their endorsement would establish AstroNova as the industry leader in quantum-resistant encryption while providing the financial foundation for sustained growth and innovation. Amanda proposed a carefully orchestrated plan that would benefit all parties while exposing Derek's fraudulent claims. Orion would arrange a private technical demonstration of AstroNova's encryption capabilities, allowing their security experts to conduct comprehensive testing without alerting TechFlow to their activities. If our technology met their rigorous standards, Orion would provide expert testimony supporting my legal defense while transitioning their business to AstroNova's superior solutions. "The timing works perfectly with our contractual obligations," Amanda explained as she outlined the proposal's details. TechFlow's agreement includes performance clauses that allow us to terminate the relationship if they fail to deliver promised capabilities by specific deadlines. We've documented their deficiencies extensively, creating legal grounds for ending the partnership without penalty. The demonstration took place in AstroNova's secure laboratory on a Wednesday morning, with Orion's technical team conducting exhaustive penetration testing of my enhanced encryption algorithms. Dr. Angela Torres and I presented the theoretical foundations while showing practical applications that exceeded industry standards for quantum resistance. The algorithms performed flawlessly under every attack scenario Orion's experts could devise. Amanda's team spent 4 hours attempting to break my encryption using advanced computational methods, including simulated quantum computing attacks that would become possible within the next decade. The algorithms maintained their security properties under every test condition, demonstrating resilience that TechFlow's hastily assembled alternatives could never achieve. The comprehensive evaluation proved that my work represented genuine innovation rather than theoretical research. "This technology surpasses anything we've evaluated from other vendors," Amanda announced at the conclusion of her team's testing. "The mathematical foundations are sound, the implementation is elegant, and the performance characteristics meet all our operational requirements. We would be honored to partner with AstroNova for our quantum-resistant encryption needs." Patricia Hayes negotiated partnership terms that reflected Orion's confidence in our capabilities while providing AstroNova with the financial security needed for long-term success. The initial contract covered 5 years with automatic renewals, guaranteeing minimum purchase commitments that would generate over $600 million in revenue. Additional provisions included collaborative research agreements and exclusive licensing arrangements that positioned AstroNova as Orion's preferred encryption technology provider. Meanwhile, TechFlow's situation continued deteriorating as word of their technical failures spread through Austin's interconnected technology community. Several employees quietly submitted resumes to competing companies, recognizing that association with Derek's dysfunction could damage their own career prospects. The engineering team's morale collapsed completely as they realized their efforts to rebuild my deleted algorithms were doomed to failure. Industry publications began investigating the real story behind TechFlow's declining performance and my controversial departure. Technology journalists contacted former employees who provided anonymous testimony about Derek's incompetence and abusive management style. The emerging narrative painted a picture of nepotism and corporate dysfunction that contrasted sharply with Derek's public claims about my supposed misconduct. Robert Sullivan finally confronted the magnitude of his son's destructive actions when Orion's lawyers delivered formal notice of contract termination. The legal documents cited TechFlow's failure to provide functional quantum-resistant encryption technology despite repeated promises and deadline extensions. Orion demanded full refunds of advance payments while reserving the right to seek additional damages for delays and costs associated with finding alternative solutions. The devastating news reached Robert during a board meeting where he had planned to announce the successful completion of Orion's technical evaluation. Instead, he faced humiliating questions about how TechFlow had lost their most important client through incompetence and misrepresentation. Several board members demanded Derek's immediate termination, arguing that nepotism had created liability that threatened the company's survival. As legal proceedings continued, Jennifer Walsh leveraged our strengthening position to negotiate from a place of confidence rather than defensive desperation. Orion's expert testimony provided irrefutable evidence that my encryption technology was original work developed independently of any TechFlow intellectual property. The partnership agreement demonstrated that respected industry professionals valued my contributions despite Derek's attempts to discredit my reputation. The climax of this corporate chess game arrived when Robert Sullivan's personal attorney contacted Jennifer with an unprecedented settlement proposal. Faced with overwhelming evidence of Derek's lies and the loss of Orion's lucrative contract, Robert wanted to end the lawsuit immediately while attempting to salvage his company's reputation. However, the offer included a desperate request that would test my commitment to the principles that had guided me through this entire ordeal. Judge Emily Patterson's courtroom fell silent as she reviewed the accumulated evidence that had transformed a corporate intimidation lawsuit into a comprehensive exposure of Derek Sullivan's incompetence and dishonesty. The discovery process had revealed a pattern of destructive behavior that extended far beyond my termination, affecting multiple employees and undermining TechFlow's technical capabilities systematically. Legal documents spread across her desk told a story of nepotism, abuse of authority, and corporate dysfunction that demanded judicial accountability. Having reviewed the testimony and documentary evidence presented by both parties, Judge Patterson announced with measured authority, "I find TechFlow's intellectual property claims to be entirely without merit. The plaintiff has failed to produce any evidence supporting their allegations of theft or misappropriation. Conversely, the evidence demonstrates that Mr. Derek Sullivan deliberately destroyed the technology his company now claims was stolen." The formal dismissal with prejudice meant that TechFlow could never again file similar claims against me or AstroNova. Judge Patterson's written order included scathing language about frivolous litigation and awarded AstroNova full compensation for legal fees and costs associated with defending against Derek's false accusations. The judicial vindication eliminated any remaining doubts about my professional integrity, while establishing legal precedent that protected other employees from similar abuse. Jennifer Walsh's presentation of evidence had methodically dismantled every element of TechFlow's case while building a compelling narrative about corporate retaliation and attempted intimidation. Expert testimony from Dr. Sarah Kim and other cryptography specialists established that my encryption algorithms were original innovations developed through independent research. Derek's own depositions provided damning admissions about his technical ignorance and deliberate destruction of company assets. Court records became public documents that industry publications could access freely, ensuring that Derek's dishonesty would follow him throughout any future career attempts. Technology journalists published detailed analyses of the case that exposed the dangers of nepotism in technical organizations. The coverage established my story as a cautionary tale about corporate dysfunction while celebrating innovation and integrity over politics and privilege. As news of our legal victories spread through Austin's technology community, former TechFlow employees reached out with congratulations and private revelations about Derek's additional misconduct. Several described instances where Derek had taken credit for their work or retaliated against employees who questioned his decisions. The pattern of abuse extended throughout TechFlow's organization, affecting dozens of professionals who had suffered in silence to protect their careers. Robert Sullivan arrived at AstroNova's offices on the Monday morning following our court victory, requesting a private meeting that would determine both companies' futures. His appearance had aged significantly during the months of litigation, with gray hair and deep lines reflecting the stress of watching his life's work crumble under his son's incompetence. The once confident entrepreneur now approached us as a supplicant seeking salvation from the consequences of his own poor judgment. "I owe you a profound apology," Robert began as we gathered in Patricia's conference room overlooking Austin's skyline. "I failed to recognize my son's limitations and allowed personal loyalty to override business judgment. Your termination was unjust, and the lawsuit was unconscionable. I take full responsibility for the pain and damage Derek's actions have caused to your reputation and career." His proposal for reconciliation exceeded anything I could have imagined during my darkest moments after Derek's brutal humiliation. Robert offered to make me a full partner in TechFlow with 20% equity ownership and complete authority over all encryption technology development. The financial package included a $5 million signing bonus, substantially higher salary, and promised to remove Derek from any technical responsibilities permanently. "You built the technology that made TechFlow successful," Robert continued with obvious emotion. "Without your innovations, we have no competitive advantage and no sustainable future. I'm prepared to give you everything you deserve, including public acknowledgement of your contributions, and guarantee that Derek will never again interfere with engineering decisions." The generous offer represented ultimate vindication of my professional worth and capabilities. Returning to TechFlow as a partner would demonstrate that competence and integrity ultimately triumph over nepotism and politics. The equity position would provide financial security while allowing me to reclaim ownership of innovations that Derek had tried to destroy. Robert's willingness to demote his own son publicly proved his recognition of my value. However, accepting the offer would mean abandoning the colleagues at AstroNova who had supported me during my most difficult period. Patricia Hayes had provided opportunity and respect when I desperately needed both, trusting my abilities when industry rumors questioned my competence. Dr. Angela Torres and the engineering team had welcomed me as a valued collaborator rather than a threat to be eliminated. Betraying their loyalty for personal gain would violate the principles that had guided me through this entire ordeal. The decision crystallized as I considered what truly mattered for my long-term happiness and professional fulfillment. Financial compensation could never repair the damage Derek's abuse had inflicted on TechFlow's culture and employee morale. Returning to that toxic environment would require constant vigilance against future retaliation from Derek and his supporters within the organization. More importantly, AstroNova offered the innovative culture and collaborative atmosphere that would allow my talents to flourish completely. "I appreciate your generous offer and sincere apology," I replied after careful consideration. "However, I've found a professional home at AstroNova where my contributions are valued and my integrity is respected. The financial terms are less important to me than working with people who share my values and commitment to innovation. I wish TechFlow success in rebuilding, but my future lies elsewhere." Robert's disappointment was obvious, but he accepted my decision with dignity that contrasted sharply with his son's earlier behavior. "I understand and respect your choice," he said quietly. "You found something at AstroNova that I failed to provide at TechFlow. I hope this experience teaches other leaders to value talent over family loyalty when making critical business decisions." As Robert prepared to leave, my phone rang with a call from Amanda Foster that would deliver the final stroke of poetic justice. Her voice carried barely contained excitement as she delivered news that exceeded our most optimistic expectations. Orion Enterprises had not only terminated their relationship with TechFlow, but had also signed an expanded partnership agreement with AstroNova worth $600 million over 5 years. Derek's petty destruction of my code had cost his father everything while making my new company the industry leader. The complete reversal of fortune felt surreal after months of uncertainty and struggle. Derek's attempt to humiliate and destroy me had backfired spectacularly, creating opportunities that exceeded anything I could have achieved by remaining at TechFlow. His actions had revealed his own incompetence while demonstrating my value to competitors who recognized genuine innovation. The revenge was perfect because it was entirely self-inflicted. The transformation of my professional life over the following months felt like emerging from a nightmare into a dream I had never dared imagine possible. Industry recognition poured in from sources that had dismissed Derek's false narrative about my supposed incompetence. The Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers invited me to deliver the keynote address at their annual cybersecurity conference, where 1,500 professionals would hear my perspective on quantum-resistant encryption development. Speaking opportunities from universities, government agencies, and technology companies filled my calendar with validation that Derek's attempted character assassination had failed completely. AstroNova's partnership with Orion Enterprises catalyzed rapid expansion that positioned us as the definitive leader in next-generation satellite security. Patricia Hayes promoted me to Chief Innovation Officer with responsibility for directing all encryption research while building collaborative relationships with academic institutions and government agencies. The expanded role allowed me to mentor brilliant engineers while pursuing cutting-edge projects that would define cybersecurity standards for decades to come. My patent applications for enhanced quantum-resistant algorithms received expedited approval from the United States Patent Office, establishing legal protection for innovations that represented years of intensive research and development. The intellectual property portfolio became AstroNova's most valuable asset. Licensing agreements with technology companies worldwide generated millions of dollars in additional revenue annually. Unlike Derek's false claims of ownership, these patents clearly documented my authentic contributions to advancing cryptographic science. The contrast between AstroNova's collaborative culture and TechFlow's toxic dysfunction became more apparent as I settled into my expanded leadership role. Engineering team meetings focused on solving technical challenges through open discussion and mutual respect rather than navigating political landmines and ego conflicts. Junior developers sought my guidance without fear of retaliation or credit theft, creating mentoring relationships that enhanced both individual careers and collective capabilities. Dr. Angela Torres and I collaborated on research papers that advanced the theoretical foundations of quantum-resistant cryptography while demonstrating practical applications in satellite communication systems. Our work earned publication in prestigious journals, including the Journal of Cryptographic Engineering and IEEE Transactions on Information Forensics and Security. The academic recognition validated my technical expertise while establishing AstroNova's reputation as a serious contributor to cryptographic research rather than merely a commercial vendor. Meanwhile, Derek Sullivan's professional destruction proceeded inexorably as consequences of his incompetence and dishonesty accumulated throughout Austin's technology community. Robert Sullivan terminated his son's employment immediately after losing the Orion contract, publicly acknowledging that nepotism had compromised TechFlow's technical capabilities. Industry professionals who had witnessed Derek's abusive behavior shared their experiences, openly creating a reputation for incompetence and toxicity that made him unemployable in any serious technical role. TechFlow's board of directors voted unanimously to remove Robert Sullivan as chief executive officer, citing poor judgment in personnel decisions and failure to maintain adequate oversight of critical projects. The company's stock price collapsed as investors lost confidence in leadership that had allowed a single employee's tantrum to destroy hundreds of millions of dollars in contracted revenue. Several major clients terminated their relationships with TechFlow, preferring to work with competitors who demonstrated more reliable execution. The National Institute of Standards and Technology invited me to participate in developing federal guidelines for quantum-resistant encryption implementation, recognizing my algorithms as potential standards for protecting classified government communications. The appointment represented the highest level of professional recognition possible in cybersecurity, validating innovations that Derek had declared worthless. Government agencies began incorporating my encryption protocols into satellite systems that would protect national security information against future quantum computing threats. Georgia Tech invited me to serve as a visiting professor in their cybersecurity program, allowing me to share practical experience with students who would become the next generation of encryption specialists. Teaching provided deep satisfaction as I helped young engineers understand complex mathematical concepts while inspiring them to pursue careers defending digital privacy and security. The academic appointment demonstrated that respected institutions valued my contributions to advancing cybersecurity education and research. Financial security eliminated the anxiety that had plagued me during months of unemployment and litigation uncertainty. AstroNova's stock options became increasingly valuable as the company's government contracts expanded and commercial partnerships multiplied. The equity position provided long-term wealth that would allow me to focus on meaningful innovation rather than survival. More importantly, the financial independence meant never again having to tolerate abusive management or toxic work environments. Personal relationships flourished in AstroNova's supportive atmosphere, where colleagues became genuine friends who celebrated each other's successes rather than competing destructively for recognition. Team members invited me to social gatherings and community events that built trust and camaraderie, extending beyond professional responsibilities. The workplace relationships contrasted sharply with TechFlow's atmosphere of fear and suspicion that had isolated employees from each other. The broader impact of Derek's spectacular failure extended throughout Austin's technology industry, where his story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of nepotism and ego-driven leadership. Several companies revised their hiring and promotion policies to emphasize merit over family connections, recognizing that competence must take precedence over personal relationships in technical organizations. Industry publications featured articles analyzing how toxic leadership destroys innovation, while competent management fosters breakthrough achievements. 6 months after my departure from TechFlow, the company filed for bankruptcy protection, as they could not recover from losing their most important client and reputation. Robert Sullivan's 15 years of building a successful business had been undone by his son's incompetence and his own failure to recognize the warning signs. The collapse served as validation that justice sometimes emerges naturally when competence displaces dysfunction in competitive markets. As I reflected on the incredible journey from Derek's humiliating termination to my current success, the lessons became clear about what truly matters in professional life. Competence and integrity create lasting value that politics and nepotism cannot sustain indefinitely. The most devastating betrayals sometimes become foundations for unprecedented opportunities when we maintain our principles while remaining open to new possibilities. True success emerges not from defeating others, but from finding environments where our talents can flourish completely. Derek's attempt to destroy my career had actually revealed my value to organizations that prioritized innovation over ego. His deletion of my code had forced me to rebuild my technology in ways that exceeded my original achievements. His lawsuit had provided a public forum for demonstrating my integrity while exposing his dishonesty. Every destructive action he took had backfired, creating opportunities that exceeded anything I could have achieved by remaining at TechFlow. The experience taught me that workplace abuse often reflects the abuser's insecurity rather than the victim's inadequacy. Derek's need to take credit for others' work and eliminate perceived threats revealed his deep awareness of his own incompetence. His attacks on my reputation represented desperate attempts to distract attention from his failures rather than evidence of my shortcomings. Understanding this dynamic helped me recognize that his behavior reflected his weaknesses rather than mine. Most importantly, I learned that maintaining integrity during difficult times creates foundation for future success that compromise cannot achieve. Refusing Robert's generous offer to return to TechFlow preserved the trust and relationships that made my work at AstroNova truly fulfilling. The decision to prioritize principles over profit had generated both financial rewards and personal satisfaction that vindicated my commitment to doing what was right rather than what was expedient. The technology industry benefits when competent professionals support each other against toxic leadership and corporate dysfunction. My colleagues at AstroNova had demonstrated how collaboration and mutual respect create environments where innovation flourishes naturally. Their example inspired me to mentor other engineers while building systems that prioritize talent over politics. The positive culture we created together proved more valuable than any individual achievement. As I concluded my reflection on this transformative experience, the ultimate lesson became clear. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to us becomes the foundation for the best thing that could happen to us. Derek's brutal betrayal had forced me to discover capabilities and opportunities I never would have pursued while comfortable in my previous position. His cruelty had revealed the kindness of people like Patricia Hayes and Amanda Foster, who valued integrity and competence. His destruction had created space for construction that exceeded my previous limitations. The journey from humiliation to triumph proved that resilience and competence ultimately overcome abuse and incompetence in environments where merit matters more than power. While Derek's story ended in professional ruin and personal disgrace, my story continued toward achievements that honored both my technical abilities and ethical principles. The contrast demonstrated that character and capability create lasting success, while toxicity and incompetence inevitably self-destruct. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced workplace betrayal that initially seemed devastating, but ultimately led to better opportunities? How did you maintain your integrity when others tried to undermine your reputation or take credit for your work? Share your story in the comments below, because your experience might inspire someone else who's facing similar challenges. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up to help others find encouragement during their own difficult workplace situations. Subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming professional obstacles and achieving success through perseverance and integrity. Share this with anyone who needs reminder that competence and character ultimately triumph over politics and abuse. Thank you for listening to my journey from Derek's attempt to destroy my career to finding success beyond anything I had previously imagined possible. I hope my experience gives you confidence that your own talents and integrity will create opportunities that exceed whatever obstacles others place in your path. Remember that sometimes the worst betrayal becomes the catalyst for the best breakthrough.